Brilliant. Good morning, everyone, and very excited for this panel just before lunch. Max O'Brien from Globally. We're a cross-border provider helping brands with international, which is very topical right now. I'm excited to be joined by the panel here. So, Scott, do you want to just introduce yourself?
Hello, can you hear me? Yeah. So my name's Scott Shasher. I'm the managing director and founder of Control Club. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, hot potato with the mic.
Just one mic. I'm Bryony Longdon, so I head up e-commerce at Perfect Moment. We are a kind of fashion ski-wear company.
And I'm Finn, head of e-com for Built for Athletes. We're the tactical backpacks that are taking up all the space on the tube.
Brilliant. Well, I just wanted to make a little bit of a kind of set the scene around the global e-commerce opportunity in the market right now. The retail landscape for e-commerce is growing at rapid pace. Worldwide e-commerce sales last year in 2024 hit over $6 trillion, and then by 2028 plan to hit over $8 trillion. Cross-border B2C, it was around $1.1 trillion last year, so it's a huge opportunity for brands. It obviously presents a great opportunity, but with great opportunity is a lot of challenges. So just picking and packing a parcel and shipping it to someone across the world might seem easy, but brands are really having to challenge and manage things like shipping, taxes, duties, compliance, payments, returns. So the list keeps getting longer and longer, and it's really exciting to hear to speak to three really fast-growing brands, very well known about how they're dealing with that. So if we start with question number one, selling online worldwide, how are you managing your global e-commerce business and navigating these complexities? If we start with you, Finn.
Yeah, sure. So it's all about simplicity, and this is one of the benefits of working with someone like Globally. We're a very small, very lean team, so we don't have the time and the resource to invest in, like you said, setting up duties, taxes, registrations, setting up local entities, paperwork in every single territory. We ship out to over 160 countries, and that's down to the partnership that we have. So all that complexity, all that time and effort is kind of absorbed by yourselves, which is a huge unlock for the team, but it also means that gives us back that time and that resource, and ultimately that money to focus on the brand and build that community that we're building.
Brilliant. And then Bryony, how a Perfect Moment? We've got one.
So I think we've gone through quite a lot of change in this over the last 2 years. So when I started in the business about 2 years ago. We were shipping everything international by ourselves, doing everything, paying all the huge fees that come with running a luxury business cross-border. We have issues where our goods are over 800 and they are made in China, so we were paying the duties on that, a broker, admin fees, which essentially just made the whole thing almost unprofitable. So in the first year, we basically integrated Globally, and that allowed us to overcome some of those complexities. Obviously, we're no longer dealing with the logistical issues, the payment issues, and we could actually ship goods into the US at a much cheaper rate than we were. The US is our biggest market, so it's about 50% of the business. And then last year, we basically opted to open a new US facility. So we have a US warehouse now, mainly just to overcome these huge fees that we're seeing on duties to cross-border goods into the US. Obviously, we'll probably talk about tariffs a little bit later, but this was a really existing issue for us at that luxury price point. So we now sort of have this hybrid model for international shipping where we run our US business with a domestic model. So all of the taxes and the payments are all run on a globally model, which basically allows us to just have so much more, all the complexity removed with all that kind of sales tax piece, which can be so difficult to run as a small business in the States. But we can use our local warehouse to get the best rates on carriers, and we can use our own customer service. And then we also have the kind of more standard Globally model for the other international markets. So we've kind of been able to develop a sort of hybrid solution that suits the markets that we run the best.
Brilliant. And yeah, I thought it'd be a good moment to talk about the tariffs on the back of the US comments. I mean, it's a crazy, since Trump last week, we've seen crazy updates across all of our brands and obviously the news and the markets. It's a massive, tariff war right now across all the different countries with the US. I just wanted to kind of run you through a little bit of the kind of stats of where we are and kind of what this looks like around the tariffs. But essentially, announced last week, and that's kicked in as of midnight this morning, the reciprocal duties. So anything over $800 to the US will start, any of the 64 countries that were announced in Trump's hit list are now warranted to be paying their tariffs. The $800 de minimis does stay in until the 2nd of May, when that is then removed for country of origin China, which actually today, if you're selling anything over $800 to the US, so typically luxury brands, there's 104% tariff now on country of origin China over the de minimis. So it's crazy out there, and I think from what we're seeing, being able to lean on a partner who knows what they're doing, investing with consultants, carriers to understand what this means to brands has been a really good shoulder to lean on when it's nothing short of just a wild west really out there at the moment. So what I'd like to then drive on to next is how you drive growth in your key markets and how you do that with all of these not necessarily the US, but all of these other countries. So how can brands drive growth in your key markets? And I'll start with you again, Finn, and then we'll move on to Scott.
Yeah, sure. So for us, it's all about the checkout. We can't have a one-size-fits-all approach to all of the territories. We don't have the time, again, we don't have the resource, the team. So with Globally, we can offer that personalized, localized checkout. We're not going to conquer the world with PayPal and Visa. So, our German territory, very much so about Klarna, and then with China, it's Alipay and WeChat. So being able to take the guesswork out of the checkout and also give confidence to our consumers that they know exactly what the landed cost is going to be. They know exactly, how much they're going to have to pay for duties and taxes, and then that trickles upwards into our marketing message as well. So we can go out to market and be really clear that this is the price that you'll pay and this is what you'll get, and also that this is how you can return it if you don't like it as well.
Brilliant. And then Scott.
Yeah, I think. Oh, yeah, right. No, it's fine. Yeah, so for us, we've worked with Globally for 3 years now, I think. It's a bit dodgy, this one, isn't it? Let me take that one. Yeah, so it's just me, isn't it? Yeah, we worked with Globally now for 3 years, and over those 3 years, we sort of let what happens take its course. So we waited to see which countries internationally we would be able to expand in because of all the amazing things that Globally can do, such as payment gateways, duties, etc. And then we doubled down on that, especially last year in the Netherlands, where we saw a lot of growth. We went and did a lot of pop-ups over there, and sort of community events where we could meet and speak to our customers. But at the same time, we're also doing sales via Globally through the checkout system. So it's allowed us to sort of take away all the difficult hurdles that we needed to overcome and use Globally, like I said, for many amazing reasons in terms of how we can just make it simple for the customer.
And then profitability. It's a big topic right now and something with all of our brands that I think everyone's talking about. And I want to now talk about profitability and then how that looks for a business and kind of how you manage your time, cost, and all of these different vendors potentially you would need to manage international. So if we start with you, Bryony, around the online business, where are there areas that you can improve performance and increase profitability for Perfect Moment at the moment?
So I think for us on this, a huge part is our payment piece. So obviously we do get the benefit of all of the additional payment methods. That's amazing. But the key thing that I think we were losing a lot of cash on and leaving a lot of cash on the table was around the authorization rates for the payments. And obviously the kind of transaction check that we have now. So we're authorizing a lot more payments, and we're obviously able to have more tailored risk rules. So we are, maybe in some countries where fraud is a lot higher, we're catching a lot more fraud that actually we just, as a small business, would really struggle to do ourselves. And I think that's where we've seen a huge benefit on just something that actually isn't really any extra work for us to do, to just use that service, maximize those authorization rates, and make sure we are actually be able to capture as many of the transactions as possible. And then obviously the added benefit of customer, conversion rate on the checkout with those extra localized payments. But I think that's a huge thing for us, and where we're not in a good place. Pre-globally, I think we were literally 3D secure checking every single transaction on every single value. We were losing so much cash, and that's been a huge change in the last 2 years since we've implemented these changes. So that's been really big for us.
And I think just on that quickly, there's so many brands lack that knowledge of what their authorization rates are. And that can have a big impact. If you're suddenly jumping up 10, 15, 20% on your authorization rates, it has a huge top line advantage to you as a business in all of these different markets. So behind the scenes improvements are really, really important. And then Scott, from your side, like scaling.
Sorry, go on, finish the question.
And scaling.
Yeah, so we, before we worked with Globally, we set up 3 websites. We did the EU website, the UK website, and the rest of the world. And I didn't really fully understand what that meant in terms of costs and scaling. We had then, every time we wanted to go into sale, we had to do free product price uploads. Every time we wanted to upload a product to the website, it was 3 times the work. And so we didn't really understand translation costs, even if we wanted to change the price point. So since we work with Globally, we now have one website. Globally can manage coefficiencies, that's right, isn't it? In terms of our price points. If we go into sale, it's just a click of one button. So from a staff perspective, and keeping the cost down and allowing us to spend more money on marketing in those areas, it's been phenomenal for us, yeah.
And then Bryony, for Finn, as well.
Yep. So I'll repeat what Bryony and Scott said as well. Being able to manipulate the coefficients so we can have a really clear view on what margin is by a territory by territory basis. The integration side of things as well. It's one setup and then it's done, and that unlocks the rest of the world. And then there's also the insight part where it's not just a case of having a personalized or territorial specific checkout. It's also working with the team who are all experts in so many global territories, and then bringing those insights inside to the team to be able to action them. So we now know which territories we do and we don't need to translate. We do know which ones to focus on, and we're able to take that money that we would have spent doing all the other grunt work and putting it into our top of funnel, working with micro-influencers, working with more kind of out-of-home opportunities. So there's savings there. It also means that because of that clarity in the checkout, we don't need to distress the brand. We don't need to distress the margin by offering more discounts or anything else that we normally would. So that first order becomes more profitable because of our work with Globally.
Brilliant. And then I've just got one more question, which I'm actually going to ask all of you. If you were a scaling brand, how would you go about international? Which markets would you focus on? Just to close off.
Number one rule is keep things simple. I think we made every mistake we could, thinking that we could bite off more than we could chew. Work with experts, allow ourselves to just do what we do best, which is probably product and marketing, and allow the experts to come in and give us the advice where we need to.
Yeah, I would echo that. You can't do everything, especially if you're a small brand. Like, there's no way you can be an expert in everything, but somebody else always is. So lean on them where you can. I think in terms of, we definitely went down this approach as well, like a super scattergun approach to just trying to target every market where you have a minor bit of demand in with no, true targeting just doesn't work. So I'd just say, go after the markets you have the natural demand in, the conversion rate is kind of already there, there's not loads of marketing competition is usually a good one to look at, and just make it a really targeted approach, because otherwise you just do a lot of everything and don't really achieve anything. So
I don't think I can add anything else onto that. Engage with the experts, bring them in. Again, we work, it's a partnership with Globally. We work as if it's an extension of the current team, which is great. A bit more annoying for you guys. But then also in terms of the laser focus, we are shipping to the world, but we're focusing on a territory by territory basis. We're official partners with High Rocks in Europe. We have partnerships with F1 teams as well. So we need to make sure that our trading calendar marries up with the activities that are happening. And then those insights and savings are being fed through the customer journey as well.
Everyone can join me in a round of applause.